When it comes to budget 85mm 1.4, this Sirui 85 is really hard to beat. But as of today, we now have this Viltrox 85mm F1.4 Pro lens. So let's see how this lens does both in the charts and real life shooting environment. Which lens is better?
Tough choice. It's very tough.
How about this? You look at all the images,
Yes.
and I'm gonna give you a call.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you let me know which one you like. Hey, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. So I'm gonna show you a lot more sample footage and photos along with some BTS later down the video. But first, you might be wondering, another 85 f1.4 lens in the market? Do we really need this lens? But after using it and testing it for a while, I wanna say this 85mm f1.4 does fill in the gap no other 85 1.4 does right now. Now, not too long ago, I did a whole comparison between a bunch of 85mm f1.4, including the Sony G Master Mark II. That video is right here if you want to check that out. But to summarize on the budget side, this Sirui 85mm came on top as a lens choice for me because I mostly do videos, but in this video I'm going to try to cover both photos and video side. And yes, as a disclaimer, Viltrox did send this lens for me to review. However, as usual, I'm going to try to cover the pros but also the cons, aka the limitation you should be aware of comparing both of these lenses. So before digging into some bulky-licious image, let's take a look at the actual build quality and the construction of this Viltrox lens. Now, this is my first experience on the Pro line of the Viltrox lens, and I have to say the actual metal construction in this lens is pretty much identical to the Lab series, which is their top of the line. It's got this black matte paint job. The whole entire thing is pretty solid, and I mean solid. So we'll talk about the weight difference a little bit later, but you gotta hear this aperture click, guys. So I'm gonna come out of A, and let me go ahead and declick this. There you go, and check this out. Oh, yeah, that thing, it locks into auto, whereas in the Sirui one, now Sirui does know this issue, and I'm pretty sure they have probably addressed it by now. But one of the issues with the Sirui, the aperture ring was pretty loose, whereas in the Viltrox one, the aperture ring is super solid. Now, in terms of focus ring, initially it did make this squeaky noise. But as of right now, after using it a while, the noise is pretty minimal, so something to note if you end up getting this lens. Now, since I made a whole video about this already, I'm not gonna talk too much about the Sirui's build quality. It's pretty much solid metal also, but if you guys wanna check it out, check out the old video. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather seal of the actual mount. And as you can tell, Sirui, if you saw my last video, it does have a pretty decent raised weather seal here. But the Viltrox one, this is the same weather seal as the Lab series. I mean, that is thick. So if I were to compare the build quality of both of these lenses directly, I would say Viltrox wins that category. All right, now let's talk about portability category. So both of these lenses, they're semi-compact in a sense, but if you were to compare both of them, of course, Viltrox is much larger, but that's not where it counts. The weight of this lens, I have to tell you guys. So they're categorizing this as 800 gram approximately. So let's go ahead and actually weigh it in real life. So the lens by itself weighs 794 grams. I think Viltrox should have just said that because approximately 800 grams sounds pretty bad, but it's not as bad as you think. But what's cool about this Sirui lens is that this thing only weighs 540 grams. So if you're trying to gimbal one of these lenses, Sirui is definitely easier. And since I'm going to talk more about photography in this video, let's go ahead and compare the actual hood. Now, I would say I'm going to put the hood like this. I don't usually use a hood, but if I were to put it in like this in my backpack, look at the size difference now. There you go. So inside your backpack, you might have it around like this. So without talking much more about it, in terms of portability, Sirui wins. Now, in terms of image quality, this is why Viltrox is so heavy. So Viltrox is 15 elements in 11 groups, and Sirui is 14 elements in 9 groups. So if you look at this chart in terms of sharpness, both are really sharp in the center, even at wide open at f1.4. But if you really pixel peep, Viltrox is a little bit sharper. But what's interesting is that Sirui technically is sharper in the corner, but they are paying for it in terms of chromatic aberration. Now, chromatic aberration can be done tastefully, so some videographers actually desire that kind of vintage look. Personally, I don't mind it in the edges, long as it's not infringing in the center of the image, whereas in Viltrox, chromatic aberrations pretty controlled in the corners. And in terms of distortion, you'll notice that Viltrox is very clean and clinical, almost like a G Master, whereas in Sirui has this pincushion distortion. Now, technically, especially for photos, you can correct this in post. And here's a little fun fact. Viltrox is officially on the Adobe Lightroom. However, Sirui hasn't gotten on that list yet, but in terms of comparing these two lenses on the image quality on the charts, I would say Viltrox wins. The next category is focus breathing. Now, this is highly important for video especially. So if I were to compare Viltrox 85 1.4 versus the Sirui one does have significantly more focus breathing. So in this category, Viltrox wins, but I do want to stress that focus breathing, if the autofocus is really good, it's not as big of a problem. So let's talk about autofocus. Now I'm going to break this category down to two, video and photo. For video, both of these lenses, in terms of autofocus motor sound, they're practically silent. So excellent in that department. From the last video, we already know that Sirui is really good on autofocus in terms of video. Viltrox, on the other hand, under extreme conditions such as running towards a camera really fast, consistently, whether you're wide open aperture or closed down, it does tend to struggle just a little bit towards when the subject is actually getting closer and closer. Now, under normal 99% of situations, Viltrox is gonna do just fine, as you can see in this example. But if I were to compare it directly to the Sirui lens is gonna win in this category of video autofocus. But in terms of photos, they're both practically really excellent. In terms of single photos, portrait sessions like this, it does not miss. But as usual, I gotta push it to the limit so you guys know where the limits are. Not that these are sports photography lenses, but when it comes to burst photo on a very fast moving subject, Viltrox was getting about consistently 60% hit rate. Whereas in Sirui, after multiple tests, we concluded that this was getting around 19 to 43% hit rate. Now, I feel like that's not enough information, so I do want to bring up a text message my photographer friend sent me. Basically, I asked during the shoot, did one of the lenses seem better at autofocus than the other? And her answer was that I would say Viltrox slightly has better performance for the eyes, but it is weird because Sirui responds to autofocus on the eyes, but when I take a look at the photos, it is not sharp as Viltrox, she says. So I was trying to find that example, and I was able to find this photo was perfect example of that. As you guys can see, when you really zoom in, yeah, Viltrox has much sharper in terms of eye autofocus than the Sirui. So in my experience too, Viltrox seems to have a slight edge in terms of photo autofocus, so this is a good example. So in the category of photo autofocus, I would say Viltrox wins. Alright, so the moment you guys been waiting for, since we're all bokeh DJs talking about f1.4 85mm. So which of these lenses has the most bokeh-licious image that does not require manscaping when it comes to bokeh balls? I'll give you guys a little hint. So this Viltrox has 11 aperture blades, just like the Sony G Master 85mm 1.4 Mark II. This is where Sirui says, hold my beer. Sirui has 15 aperture blades, making the other two look like a child's play, but that's on paper. So how good is it in real life? I mean, at wide open at f1.4, both of these bokeh balls are smooth enough that you don't need manscaping. It is interesting to see that one of them has a little bit more chromatic aberration around the light bulbs. Now, the story does change a little bit once we get to f2.8. This is where Sirui is gonna say, yeah, I got 15 blades. So in the category of bokeh balls, Sirui wins. And you might be thinking to yourself, that's not real life. I need to see more real life bokeh. And you shall. So I'm gonna show you some BTS of that photo shoot, both video and photo side. Now do note that on the video side, I didn't put any mist filter or ND filter in front of any of these lenses. I shot this with Sony a7 IV. I'm just applying a LUT over it. So that's what you're seeing on the video side. On the photo side, I know photographer probably hates it when I do this, but I'm gonna only show you JPEG. These are straight JPEG from the actual camera, and the photographer used Sony a7R Mark V. Now do watch till the end of the video because I'm gonna tell you one more thing that's surprising about this Viltrox 85. But without further ado, let's take a look at some real life video footage and photos of these two lenses. Alright, so let me introduce you to two wonderful people. We have Cordelia here.
Hello.
She's gonna be the model. We have Jum over here.
Hi.
She's gonna be the photographer. Alright, right now the challenge is the weather. We did not expect a little bit of rain, but we're gonna have fun with this. Here, Jum. This is Viltrox 85 1.4. Ooh.
Oh my gosh, I feel that weight.
Alright, I think the rain's picking up. So we're gonna try to shoot here.
Right here, yes.
Oh yeah.
Still have some light.
So epic.
Yeah.
But we're gonna make it epic.
Everything is beautiful.
next up? Is it lighter?
Everything is beautiful. Everything is beautiful. Lost in the wonder, caught up in colors that I've never seen before. Everything is beautiful. Everything is beautiful.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I know it's kind of hard to tell in a real life uncontrolled environment like that which image is better than the other. So there's actually one photo or two photos that are taken back to back within 3 minutes of each other. So these are the two photos. So feel free to pause it here, but I feel like Sirui has a little bit more vintage look to it, whereas in Viltrox one, it is cleaner and clinical. However, it does have a little bit more warmth and contrast to it. All right, so one more surprising thing about Viltrox. So Sirui is $5.99 retail price. Now you may find this on sale right now because Sirui knows that Viltrox coming up with the same kind of lens. However, I was really surprised. I found out this recently. So Viltrox 85mm full frame 1.4. I thought this was going to be a little bit more expensive than the APS-C version of their Pro lenses. Their Pro lenses on APS-C format, they're like $580-ish. So I was sure this was going to be at least like $700. So when they sent me the price, I was surprised. So Viltrox is trying to launch this lens at $598, not $599. I guess they want to be $1 cheaper than this one. What? That is insane, guys. So if you get a coupon code especially, so I'm going to try to get a coupon code for you guys. If you see the link in the description, that's going to have it on there, hopefully. But if you're getting this lens under $600, I think that's a tremendous value. Now, one advantage right now on the Sirui side is that this has many other mounts available for you ready to go right now. As of right now, this Viltrox 85 only comes in Sony E-mount, so if there's actually more mounts coming, I'll try to update the description in the future. But there's one more thing to do in this video, and that is to call my photographer friend Joom. So a little backstory, this month has been incredibly busy for me, guys. I don't know if you guys can hear the water dripping, but yeah, I have a water leak in my ceiling right now. I was struggling to make this video, but I really wanted to provide you guys good examples in terms of real life shoots. So I reached out to Joom, and she basically scheduled this whole entire photo shoot, schedule with the models and the location. So she's been very helpful. So I told her we're gonna test the Sirui 85 versus the Viltrox 85, and whichever she likes the most, I just give it to her as a thank you. But I told her don't tell me until now. So when I call her at this moment, she's gonna tell me which one she actually liked the most. So right now, let's give her a call real quick. Hi Joom, how are you?
I'm good.
So as promised, I'm gonna give you one of the lenses you like the most since you edited it and took photos with it. So which one did you choose? And briefly explain why.
So the answer go to
Viltrox.
Ah, all right, why?
So I find out the autofocus, they are so great and also so crisp. So it's more like blurry background, but also the detail on the subject.
Good answer. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pack it up for you and give it to you next time I see you, okay? All right, I gotta go finish this video. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Now, if you guys want to see Joom's finished photos, not just the JPEG, I'm going to go ahead and link the photographer's IG account handle right below in the description, along with the model's IG account. The model name is Cordelia. She's from the DMV area and fantastic to work with. Thank you both so much. So what gap is this 85 1.4 Viltrox really filling? In terms of under $600 category, Sirui is still the king in terms of video only, or if you mostly do video, I will recommend that. But if you're a hybrid shooter and you do a lot of photos and you do video on the side, I will recommend this Viltrox 85 1.4 because photo on this is incredible and it's good enough on the video in terms of autofocus. So that is the gap it's filling. I hope this video is helpful. If it did, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Till next time, guys, take care.
Tomorrow.
All right, Joom. You take care of it, okay? I know you make a good use of it.